Alright, boys and girls, we are here with another edition of Budget Magic. This time we are reaching back into Modern in playing a deck that's called Eternal Domain. This deck apparently was somewhat big during like Ravnica Standard. I don't remember it personally, I wasn't playing competitively at that time. But I found it digging around through some old lists. As you can see, it's pretty cheap, $20 online, just under 70 in paper, and it's actually really fun to play. As far as how competitive it is, it really depends on the matchups. It can win, and you can beat tier 1 decks with it, but it really struggles with mono red. Unless you just happen to get a really good draw, it's hard to beat Goblin Guides, backed up by Lightning Bolts and Boros Charms, as you will see in one of the videos. Anyway, the idea of this deck, it's a blue-red, I guess, control deck, but the idea is to control your opponent's lands. So what set me down this path was looking over the Modern Masters 2015 spoilers, and I came across Wildfire. Wildfire, for those of you that don't know, it's been reprinted a few times, first in Urza's block and a couple of older core sets. 6 mana, so 4 and 2 red, and it's a sorcery. Each player sacrifices 4 lands, and Wildfire does 4 damage to each creature. So, this basically wipes the board and sometimes is like half of an Armageddon, or sometimes a full Armageddon that wipes away lands on the battlefield. We try to break the symmetry of this deck by using some mana rocks. We have 4 Izzet Signets, 2 mana for an artifact, tap it, pay 1, and you add a red and a blue. And we also have 4 Mind Stones, which are pretty sweet. 2 mana, tap to add 1 mana, but you can also sack it for 1 mana and draw a card, so it basically cycles for 3 mana if you really don't need it. So we're trying to get these out on turn 2, get to Wildfire on like turn 4 or 5. In between, the tricky things we do is steal our opponent's lands. We have Annex, 4 mana, enchant target land, you control enchanted land. In 5 mana, 3 in a blue, we have Dream Leash, enchant permanent, but only a tapped permanent, and you control the enchanted permanent. So, the basic idea is if we can go turn 1 land, turn 2 Izzet Signet or Mind Stone, then on turn 3 we can annex one of our opponent's land. And remember, when you steal your opponent's land, you have access to that land the next turn. Usually they're tapped. Sometimes they're not with annex, but so you get an extra land out of it too. So we go from 2 mana to 4 mana with Izzet Signet. Then we go from 4 mana to 6 mana, assuming we're hitting our land drops, which puts us in Wildfire range on turn 4, most definitely by turn 5. We can also Annex on turn 3, followed by Dream Leash on turn 4. So we're up to like 7 mana, and our opponent's at 2 lands. In Dream Leash, you can also use it as like a mind control or a control magic to steal a creature, assuming it's tapped. The rest of the deck is basically just ways to try to stay alive and slow our opponent down a little bit. We have 4 Lightning Bolts pretty much everywhere in Modern, just the best way to deal with your opponent's early creatures. I don't think I've ever sent one to the face in this deck. This deck, it does not win fast. Usually, it either wins by your opponent getting so frustrated that they end up scooping. That happens. Or you do all this stuff and eventually you clean things up with Frost Titan. Frost Titan is, I guess, the finisher of choice, and it also plays into the theme of the deck. It's another way to control your opponent's resources to keep them from having a land to use. It's kind of a temporary annex, I guess. I mean, you don't gain control of the land, but it does put them off the land. So that's another part of the curve. If you can go turn 3 annex, turn 4 Dream Leash, turn 5 Frost Titan, you're really limiting what your opponent can do just because you're controlling so much of their mana base. Also have 4 Mana Leaks, which another, like Lightning Bolt, it's just another way to slow down our opponent's early pressure, basically. It's very hard to lose. Like, there's very few creatures in Modern that actually get around Wildfire. You're looking at maybe Tarmogoyf if it's a 4/5, which is a reasonable number for Goyf. also Siege Rhino. But other than that, like 4 damage cleans up most of what's going on in Modern. And unlike Standard, where there's so many Planeswalkers in play, you don't really have that problem so much in Modern. Um, anyway, Pyroclasm, same thing. Uh, very good against the early drops. Repeal, like having one of these in there. It's another way to kind of cycle through your deck and also gain some like fringe value. So it's worked out pretty well. I haven't drawn it too often. Frost Titan, one thing I wanted to mention about Frost Titan, this is the finisher. This is basically our only way to win the game, barring our opponent drawing some cards and decking, or us Dream Leashing a creature and using that to beat down. So this is the way to win. It's actually super hard to kill in this deck because you're stealing so many of your opponent's lands. The pay an extra 2 to be able to target it with a spell, which is part of one of Frost Titan's abilities, actually becomes almost like Shroud or Hexproof in this deck, just because you can Wildfire and Annex and leave your opponent with so few resources that paying 2 is, I mean, they might as well be paying a million, I guess. So, and the other thing that's sweet about Frost Titan is it has some cool synergy with Dream Leash. Dream Leash, as you can see, steals any permanent, but the caveat is it needs to be tapped. Frost Titan, if you look at it, it taps any permanent. So you can use Frost Titan to tap down Liliana of the Veil, to tap down a, I don't know, Ghostly Prison, any permanent, and then the following turn you can Dream Leash it and gain control of it. So that's kind of a neat thing to do. The last card, Anticipate. If you have them sitting around, and it looks like they're going to be more available soon with the announcement of the FNM promo, Serum Visions is probably just better here. We do have things to do on turn 2, is it Signet, and with Mind Stone, but we don't always have something we want to do on turn 1. I think the deck would run a little bit smoother if you could stick Serum Visions in the Anticipate slot, although Anticipate has performed fine, but it's just a mana curve consideration. As far as the lands, we have 9 islands, 8 mountains, 4 Sulphur Falls. This could really be whatever blue-red duel you have sitting around. Entering the battlefield untapped is nice. I don't know if it's completely necessary. Fini Mikko Koro. Those dang Kamigawa names. Anyway, Center of the Sea. It's a legendary land. You can add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can pay 2 and tap it, and each player draws a card. So it's sort of like a Howling Mine land or a Temple Bell land. Anyway, that's just another way for us to move through our deck. Rending Valley, moving to the sideboard here. Rending Valley is a consideration for Deceiver Exarch, for Pestermite, for the Splinter Twin deck. I am not sure how this deck beats that deck consistently. I guess we have the mana leaks and the lightning bolts, but we're really scared of Deceiver Exarch at end of turn into Splinter Twin. This gives us an automatic out to that, so that's why they're included. Dispel, it's kind of a way to protect our own wildfires. Repeal, haven't brought these in too often. They can be good in certain situations. I played against Soul Sisters. Bouncing a token and cycling through their deck isn't bad. Bouncing a troublesome enchantment isn't bad. So another just value card. Negate, pretty much like Dispel. Dismember, this is just kind of another catch-all answer. This can take down Siege Rhino, can take down Goyf most of the time, and also is fine against Pestermites and Deceiver Exarchs. In Smelt, this is just kind of a concession to the artifact decks, especially Affinity or Robots, whatever you want to call it. Since we're blue-red, I think this is the best option. I guess we could also play something like Shatterstorm to catch all the artifacts, and that might be better. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention, the biggest budget consideration that I made in this deck was not playing Blood Moon. This deck seems like such a natural fit to jam Blood Moons, either main deck or sideboard. I think I would put 1 or 2 in the main deck if I could, and another one in the board just because that plays well with the theme. It's another way to disrupt your opponent's lands, and it's super powerful. We already have the mana base with islands. We could even up the island count slightly if we needed to, so it's not really hurting us at all. We have the signets, like it's just such a perfect fit for Blood Moon, but they're pretty expensive at the moment. If you got them sitting around, I would definitely stick them in the deck. If you don't, it plays fine as it is. So yeah, anyway, like I said, not sure this is super competitive, but it is super fun, and if you get the right draws, it's just such a blast to play, and it can be very good decks. Like, if you run well and draw your cards in the right order, it is pretty powerful. Plus, it's cheap to throw together, so if you want to play an F&M, you want to play some casual queues, I think you could run it through like a daily event or something, but I wouldn't be super confident, especially in your burn matchup, and I'm not sure exactly how you fix that problem. Um, yeah, I just don't know what the solution is. Anyway, let's move on to the videos, and thanks for watching. Alright, boys and girls, this week we are playing Eternal Dominion in Modern. I guess we will play first. Jeez. All lands in a leak. Well, we don't really play anything till turn 4 other than ramp anyway. Yeah, I guess we'll try it. We do have our one Makiro, which will let us draw some cards. We'll lead on an island here, ship the turn back. So what are we playing against? Probably, oh, I was going to say Abzan, but now it looks like an elf sort of deck. Well, Frost Titan, that's a long way off. So the idea of this deck basically is to steal every single thing our opponent plays. How successful this will be? I think we're just going to counter this elf. We don't really want to let him draw a card. We want to start drawing cards ourselves with our Makoro. Next turn. Opponent passes, Sulfur Falls. We'll just play Makoro. Mikokoro. Dan Kamigawa. And their crazy names. So our opponent plays another Visionary. This one will resolve. Maybe looking for lands? Well, we're going to draw here on our opponent's end step. Ooh, that's a Wildfire. That could be very good. I guess we just play land and pass. We could activate now, but even if we draw a Mind Stone or another Mana Rock, we really can't cast it because we only have one mana left. Unfortunately, Sol Ring's not legal in Modern. Our opponent plays another Elvish Visionary and gets a land. And another Mystic. Well, he either has to play something very good or he's going to get absolutely wrecked by Wildfire. Gets in for 1. Let's see if we can draw a Mana Rock. Or another land. Wildfire is what really sent me on this deck to begin with. Saw that spoiled in Modern Masters 2015 and said, is there a deck in Modern I can use Wildfire in? And the answer is yes. Repeal was actually a really good draw. So, in theory, if you play something semi-big, I guess a Planeswalker is still bad. But if he plays... I don't even know what that would be. Some sort of 4 or 5 drop that gets around Wildfire? I guess that's unlikely. Another Elves. Man. Well, we are about to see one of the greatest wildfires of all time. Jeez, another Wildfire. Our opponent has to discard, and another Frost Titan. Can we Frost Titan before we Wildfire? If we Wildfire, we just got a Wildfire. He's going to be empty board. We can save Sulphur Falls in Mercuro. Anyway, Wildfire. Our opponent might scoop now. So we're going to have to sack 4 lands. Our opponent has a response, eh? What could he possibly want to play right now? Cord for 3. Is there anything he can cord for that isn't just going to die to our Wildfire? Missouri. Okay, so he can regenerate one of his elves. I'm not sure that's worth it. And he might have just punted. Alright, so we gotta sack 4 lands. Our opponent has to sack 4 lands. No, he did regenerate one of the Mystics. Okay. Well, that's fine. We're still pretty far ahead. We're up on mana. We can bounce his elf if we need to. Spellskite, yep. Oh, Signet's sweet. So we can play Signet. Play land, and then I think we're just going to repeal his elf. Don't want to have him have too much mana. I don't think it's going to work the way you want. He tried to redirect to Spellskite, but since repeal can't target Spellskite when it's X1, it didn't work. And we are getting pretty close to sending off another Wildfire if we need to. Lightning Bolt's not great at the moment. Alright, so here, I guess we just play another land. This time I think we'll just draw a card at the end of his turn. We also could start getting Frost Titan down. Seems like a tough card for him to beat. Well, he is stringing together some lands after being very stuck on lands earlier. Reclamation Sage on our... Is it Signet? Yep. Can't do a whole lot about that. But he's still not really pressuring us in any meaningful way. So we'll draw a card here. Another land. Holy. Dreamleash. So we can enchant a tapped permanent and gain control of it. Well, I think we are going to Dreamleash one of his lands. That makes our Wildfire next turn even better, because we can sack his forest. Nykthos isn't doing much. Oh, I love Wildfire. That's one of my favorite cards in Cube, especially powered cubes or Signet cubes. One of my favorite decks is the Wildfire deck, and Burning of Zangi or Zenge, whatever that name is. Get multiple Wildfires, play a bunch of mana rocks, and just totally break the symmetry. Our opponent's going to get in with Reclamation Sage. Yep. And pass the turn. Yeah, so I think we're just going to Wildfire again here. That puts him down to nothing again. And we can even leave up our Lightning Bolt. Is he going to cord again? I just don't know what he can cord for that matters. Temple Garden. So sack lands, we'll sack his forest, 2 islands and a mountain. So I guess he can cord for, Collected Company, okay. Well, it's nice that we left up Lightning Bolt mana. He gets double Arch Druid. That's alright. I think we're just going to bolt one of these right now. And hope to Dream Leash the other one before too long. Another land solid. That means Dream Leash will be online for next turn. Actually, we can't even cast our Dream Leash because he didn't tap anything. But that's alright. Him doing nothing is also fine. Draw a card. Another Dream Leash. Mind Stone is solid. We'll play Mind Stone. Play a Mountain. Now I think we are just going to, unless he does something crazy, start slamming Frost Titans, and that should close the door on this game pretty quick. Frost Titan actually has a pretty sweet synergy with Dream Leash, where we can tap a permanent with Frost Titan, and then steal it with Dream Leash. Another land is fine. Anticipate. That'll be good in the future. We're definitely just going to Frost Titan here and tap down his Elvish Archdruid. Finds a Vastwood, okay. Spicy, I guess. And that still does it. Sweet, well, I guess the Elf deck has a hard time with multiple wildfires. Sideboarding. Rending Valley doesn't do much. Negate, Dispel. Dispel and Negate do take down Collected Company and Court of Calling. Still not 100% sure. Can also bring in Dismember, which might be good. Pyroclasm is pretty excellent in this matchup too. I think we can bring in a Dismember, I think, for... Yeah. What do we not want? I guess we can go down one Anticipate. Maybe, do we want to fight over Collected Company? We do have the leaks. Yeah, we'll just leave it as is. Bring in a Dismember. Oh, this hand would be sweet if we had one more land, but we're on the draw. We got a Bolt to kill his first thing. So if we draw an island in our first 2 turns, this hand isn't horrible. If we don't draw an island, this hand is... I think we gotta ship it. Now, that's not much better. Now we're really hoping for like a Pyroclasm or some of our Mana Rocks. Annex isn't super great against him, since he has so many mana creatures. Metal Sentinel. Oh boy. Well, that was a sweet draw. We might be able to wreck him pretty good. I think if he plays just another creature, we're just gonna Pyroclasm right away because we don't want him to draw a Lord, which would pretty much invalidate our Pyroclasm. Plus it slows him down and gives us time to get to the Wildfire. Man, if he goes Metal Sentinel into like an Elvish Mystic, it's going to be a very good Pyroclasm. Just double Sentinel. Alright, well, drew a Bolt, so we'll just Pyroclasm away the Nettle Sentinels. That leaves us a Lightning Bolt to deal with his next creature. And hopefully we draw some lands. Mystic. So we must have drawn that Mystic this turn, I guess. Heritage Druid. Well, we just keep drawing Pyroclasms. Do that again. Ship the turn back. We would still really like a land. Any land will do. So we can annex something. Archdruid, well, I guess that's where our bolt's going. Well, there's a land. So we can annex his white source. And then if we draw land, we can Wildfire Frost Titan. I think we're gonna go, well, I don't know what's better. We can just bolt the Archdruid. That's a safe play. If we annex and he plays Reclamation Sage, that's pretty bad for us. But if we annex and he doesn't have Reclamation Sage, or Collected Company or something, then we can potentially Wildfire. Yeah, I think we're just going to annex his white source and hope for the best. I guess, I mean, if he plays Reclamation Sage, we lose our annex, but we still get to bolt the Archdruid next turn. And if he doesn't have an untapped land, he can't Collected Company anyway. There's Llanowar, so that makes Archdruid tap for 2. So you have the... oh, another Archdruid. Alright. Well, oh boy. Well, since he played double Archdruid, I think we just Wildfire, and I think that wins us the game. We'll save our Sulphur Falls and our hard drawing land. He's down to an empty board. So let's see. I guess we'd just like to draw another land, maybe, so we can start drawing cards. Well, I think we're going to anticipate right now, in case we hit a land. Dreamleash, Frost Titan, Frost Titan. Okay. Well, I guess we'll take Dreamleash. I don't think we... Frost Titan is so far away at the moment. At least we can play Dreamleash a little earlier. Oh, that's good. Well, now we can start drawing cards, and hopefully that gets us back towards our Frost Titan. Wait till the end step, so in case he draws a land, he can't play it till next turn. More Dreamleashes. Lightning Bolt. I think we're going to main phase draw to try to hit a land. Signet. Well, that's not the worst. We can bolt a creature that he plays and play a Signet. On the other hand, we can... yeah, I think we gotta play Signet. I was gonna say we could leave up Leak and bolt the creature, bolt the Mystic, but I think building our mana up is more important with 2 Dreamleashes in our hand. Llanowar Elves. Guess we're just gonna bolt the Llanowar Elves and pass the turn. We can mana leak. If we don't need to mana leak, we can anticipate. I think that's fine. I think I'd rather just anticipate and make sure we hit this land. Take the Sulphur Falls. So now we can start casting our Dreamleashes or Annex. Well, I guess we just cast our Annex on his land instead of the Dreamleash, since the Dreamleash can hit a creature. Take his Forest, and now we're 1 land away from Frost Tightening. And that'll do it. Sweet!